There's been some doubts cast over the future of Antonio Conte as Tottenham Hotspur coach, and it's coming from the man himself. He's talked about the gap between Spurs and what he calls top club Chelsea, following on from his side's loss in the first leg semi of the Carabao Cup yesterday. A look at what he's done so far with Spurs and obviously changing things there, and that's clear for all to see on the pitch. But this is what he said after the game. He said, at the moment, we are in the middle. If you compare the two teams, there is not a comparison. We're talking about Chelsea, who are ready to win. Tottenham, in the last years, the level has dropped. If you want to stay at this level, look at Chelsea. Last season, they won the Champions League, and this season, they invest much money to improve the team. I think this is enough to understand the difference at this moment between us and them. It is not simple to say, go in the transfer market. In January, it won't be easy. We have to try to fight to stay in the league in a good position. But if we think we are close, I think we are not in the right way. We'll now welcome in Gab Marcotti. We'll hear from Gab in just a moment. But Frank, why are you laughing when I read out that quote?
Because I knew it would come up with Antonio Conte. We know how it works with him. He wants money, he wants to buy player and gets the credit of winning something because he spends so much money. I was expecting him to do better. He does right now with Spurs, except against Chelsea yesterday. But otherwise, that was much better than what we used to see. But I wanted him to bring them elsewhere. You know, with almost that team, Tottenham was much better like 2-3 years ago. So yes, of course, you will need more money. And he's saying, yeah, it's going to be tough during the winter market. I won't be able to buy people that I want. So we're going to wait for next summer. That guy wants a big amount of money, like 300-400 million, buy crazy player, fantastic player, gets titles and say, well, you know, I'm perfect. I know what it is to be successful. Well, give me the money. Give me a Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester United. Give me 300 or 400 million. I tell you, I'm going to do much better than Tottenham are doing now. That's for sure.
Craig?
Well, I have to confess I didn't see the game yesterday because I was out somewhere, but I hear it wasn't a great performance from Tottenham. A frustrating one, but I think bigger picture is that I think he's been quoted as saying recently that he's going to instructor, he's instructed Daniel Levy that he's assessed the squad properly now and he knows exactly the strengths and weaknesses and what he needs and what he doesn't need. And that's normal. That's normal. But I think he's not... I don't think he can be daft enough to not realise what Tottenham's history is in terms of the way they spend and the way they do the business. So I think he's got some understanding there. I think Tottenham will try and do something. But surely to God, taking this job, he knows in his head that if there is going to be a process, it's going to be a slow one.
Gab, can we be cynical and say, especially from an Italian fan's point of view, that these type of quotes are familiar when maybe an exit is looming for Antonio Conte?
Well, I can't speak for Italian fans, but they're familiar, obviously. We saw this just a few miles away and when he was at Chelsea, right? That has been the MO. He gets to a team, he improves the team. Although normally he wins things before he starts asking for things. But I think this is a very different situation at Tottenham, and I don't think we're seeing the Conte that says, oh, let's go and spend money because otherwise you're not as ambitious and you don't have the winning mentality I have. He knew what he was getting into when he went to Spurs. Don't forget, Spurs director of football. Fabio Paratici is a guy he's known for many, many years. He worked with him before at Juve. He's not a fool. As Craig said, he knows how Daniel Levy operates. He's come in. He's improved the team. If they win their games in hand, they're in the top four, which seemed very far away earlier this season, or even just last season, towards the end of last season. And this is what he's talking about. I genuinely heard him when I heard him speak. I thought he's using this as a stick to kind of motivate everybody and said, oh, look where Chelsea are. They're so much better than we are. We have to work to get there. He knows they're not going to go out and sign Erling Haaland in January. He knows that as well as anybody.
No, but I'm wondering, Gab, whether, and you just touched on that kind of briefly there, motivation for the players, but I wonder if it's a motivation for... Well, that's the wrong terminology, but I wonder if it's trying to pressure, in some sense, Daniel Levy to the knowledge that I think most Spurs fan would think he's arguably the best manager they've had in through the door for quite some time, and maybe as good as they're going to get. And if he starts talking, dropping these little things out about, not going well and possibly leaving, that the fans might somehow be able to pressure Tottenham and Levy to spend a bit more and get behind him. And am I batting that down the wrong side of the pitch there?
Look, I'm not going to rule out that the possibility happens at some point in the future, but and that would be in line with his MO. But that's not where Conte is right now. He's won a few games. He hasn't lost a game in the Premier League. They've moved up the table. He knows that many people have tried to pressure Levy using precisely those tools, unsuccessfully, I might add. And he knows it's going to be a long slog. Look, they lost to Chelsea. Spurs of the last 36 times Spurs have gone to Chelsea, they've only won once, okay? So it was a horrendous performance, fine. But he wasn't expecting necessarily to go and get something out of that game. I think he knows this. I think he also knows that if they get in the top four, then he will expect to be able to spend some money. He'll be expect to spend some money in January. If Harry Kane ever leaves the club, he knows he's going to have a lot of money to spend with and flexibility on the wage bill. And this is basically what he wants. He wants the opportunity to go out and get the players that he wants. But he knows that, he can't just write a list. Santa Claus isn't dressing up like Daniel Levy this time of year. It just doesn't work that way. So I don't think he's sending any specific messages. He doesn't have that clout yet.
I think I've got to go with Gab here, because I don't think there's any way that having the experience that Conte's had, there's no way he's going into Tottenham thinking they're just going to throw money to him, he's going to go and buy players, he's going to win something, and then 18 months, 2 years, he's going to go somewhere else. He's too long and too smart in the tooth to do that. I think what he's doing is he's just keeping everybody on their toes, especially Levy, that, when the time comes, you better back me. He's kind of throwing a little bone in, saying it'll be tough in January, but I think he's just keeping them on his toes so that come the summer, then Levy better be prepared to back him. Because if Levy doesn't, then I would suggest Conte's well within his rights to think about leaving. But I don't think he will. I think he'll get the backing next summer.
It's why I'm a little bit annoyed about it, because we all know that he left Inter Milan because they didn't want to give him the money to buy big players and do better in the Champions League, and he left. So he comes to Tottenham, and we all expect, and I just expected what I'm just seeing right now. I will need more money to build a bigger team. That I understand, which is normal. But sorry, Gab, but what he's saying is, I can't do better with what I have. I need like 4 bigger players. But when I see Son yesterday playing, and everybody can agree that Son is a fantastic player, what's wrong with Son? How come he cannot be better than he showed yesterday with somebody like Conte? Conte asked for 100% involvement every game you play. It was the ghost of Son yesterday that I saw. It was almost the ghost of Kane. Yeah, go on.
Go on, Gab.
You got to look at what's behind them. Look who's supplying them. Who's supplying Harry Kane and Heung-min Son? They don't have anybody to get them the ball properly. They end up. Particularly Harry Kane now ends up dropping back to get the ball, because if he doesn't, he's never going to see it, because they can't get him it. They're as far as football in the middle of the park, averages the day is long, and they're questionable defensively. So you can't go looking at Son and Kane and think, well, he's turned them into bad players. The players he has at his disposal can't get them the ball in the proper areas.
Sorry, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I don't know when, or 4 years ago, when they reached the Champions League final, can you tell me the names of people playing alongside Kane and Son? They were in top players as well, and they reached the Champions League final.
They had a playmaker.
Christian Eriksen, Musa Sissoko.
They had a playmaker.
Eriksen, Sissoko,
right. They had a playmaker that they've never replaced. Eriksen.
Come on.
They've never replaced them. They had a playmaker to supply Harry Kane in particular and Young-Min Son. And what did they do when he left? Zero. They bought Højbjerg and Harry Winks was there.
Well,
so
I think it's a bit.
You cannot deny the fact Højbjerg did well, since he arrived.
I think it's a bit of a futile argument.
As a defensive midfielder.
Sure.
He's not even. He doesn't live in the same planet as Eriksen. I mean, he's a defensive midfielder.
Same position.
So you get rid of Eriksen and he comes in.
Well, I think one thing we could. One thing we could say, the Eriksen, as good a player as he was and is if he plays again, is a little bit futile because under Conte, that is, because Conte had him at Inter Milan and didn't really fit in the way that he played.
Oh, but then he won him over somewhat.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, maybe now and again off the bench. Yeah, but anyway, I think the thing for Conte is, in my, the way I see it is, look, I think there is some success if he can keep taking them on a steady upward trajectory. I think that's first and foremost, and then get through to the summer, suss it out, feel it out, and then see if there's going to be. I'm sure there'll be money to spend, and then he can assess then what way this whole thing is going to pan out. But just try and keep building from here, making them better with what he's got, and see where that takes them. That could effectively take them into the top 4. It's not going to be easy, but the 4th place is definitely up for grabs when you see what else is around. There's nothing sticking out like a sore thumb that says, oh, that's 4th place. It should be Man United with their squad. It should be, but it's not.
OK, well, we're going to wrap up the talk on Spurs just in case.
Are those two still going?
They'll probably be going long after the show is finished.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.